Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports as Ordered. And I know y'all thought we was gone forever. It was just a small hiatus. We back, baby. Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals going on right now. I couldn't ask to watch the game with a better, astute observer of the game than the one and only, the world famous, the world renowned. Born in Texas, raised in VA, representing everything New Jabruz, and for some strange reason, he's still representing the Falcons.
Hey.
He is Mr. Logical.
Hand-painted, original.
And do us a favor.
Surfboard.
Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And of course, down here live from the Alamo, it's your unorthodox statistician, 2-5. I believe in Joe Hendry. I go left so much that you thought I was RG3. They call me 2-5. Tonight, we're going to talk some NFL, some college football, some association. We got it all, and we here for you. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. And while you doing all the good things, it can't be good if it ain't including liquid death. Holla. So, Mr. Logical.
I'm listening.
There's a war going on outside no Nick is safe from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They are fighting for Gotham tonight. You know, I saw Spike Lee in the building. I saw Ben Stiller in the building. They done took the show on the road. But I don't think it matters. You know, you were talking about it just a few minutes ago. Cat over there huffing and puffing. And he ain't blowing nobody's house down.
He looks exhausted.
he looks exhausted.
Yeah.
You know, the other night, you know, the game that the Knicks won, it was one of those things, you know, over the last couple of weeks, we've been hearing all these dumb conversations. I've heard people say the Celtics are better without Jason Tatum. But then the other night, there was a gift and a curse that happened because Jalen Brunson was in foul trouble. So he played less than 3 minutes in the fourth quarter in game 3, but the Knicks pulled it out. So that's confidence building. But the problem is that he get back on the court, you're going to start giving up points again.
Yeah, the thing that was going on, Cat was out of his mind in game 3. You got to give him a shout out for that because I know we as the fan and now like, you know, members of the media and just other pundits, different sports groups, I think we take like micro snapshots of all these guys' careers and shit on their entire career for it instead of taking a micro snapshot like, yo, this dude really backpacked the Knicks the other day where he was hitting some shots where it was like they were like backbreakers, you know, like those shots, you know, like shots that Steph hits. Like Steph doesn't hit the shot that you're down 3. He hits the 3 to tie it up, then comes right back down, hits another 3. He hits it when you're like up 5, up 6, and it just deflates the building. Cat was hitting those kind of shots because Indiana had a 20-point lead. They were rolling. Like I said to you, I felt like they didn't play topping enough in the second half. I could be wrong, but as I was noticing the Knicks when on their grind, when they were coming back, there's a lot of Miles Turner. And I get it, you want to go big for big, but I think Obi Toppin on the floor right now is causing Cat to have to run a little more. When they switch, he's still a big. So I think it's just, and then Neesmith went out with the ankle. I was like, okay, you got to go faster with your more athletic big because Jalen Brunson his fouls were just bad fouls.
They were dumb.
I think he got a foul contesting TJ McConnell's jumper. I'm like, dog, you got 3. It's just like dead ass. I think in the first half, when he got his 4th foul, he was contesting something like, yo, give that up. You're going to get the ball back and you can wash out whatever points whoever you're guarding just scored because you have that kind of talent to score. You have the ultimate green light. Defend as much as you can, but like don't close out in a game where you already been called for 3 fouls that way. And like it was a silly foul. And a couple of them, I don't even think it was actually a foul, but when you're in that position, you can't even give the refs from any angle the opportunity to give you the 4th foul in the first half. So he started the third quarter with 4 fouls. And Stan Van Gundy was like, listen, the beginning of the third quarter, I'm putting Jalen Brunson in every pick and roll. And when he got his fifth foul, it was like, all right, well now Cat just went on his tear. And then you have Josh Hart that's just scrappy. I think he grabbed like 10 or 11 rebounds. Like he was getting like Cat was getting the big shot, and then Josh Hart would come back and get the errant 3-point shot by Indiana rebound, and kind of just it was taking the air out of the building.
Well, it's a couple things because to your point about Obi Toppin, we saw that in the first round when they played the Pistons. Tobias Harris, was the guy that was all up in Cat's chili, if you will. And Cat was having issues with the speed, not necessarily banging the body's paws, but just the smaller dude that can get around you or keeps you honest where you have to go at the basket, and on the other side, I would like to see a little more Deuce McBride for the Knicks. I think that he gives you the defense that Brunson can't. You know what I mean? He's another ball handler that you probably need on the floor because most of these dudes, when they touch the ball, they're looking to go. When OG catch the ball, he's looking to make his move or shoot. When Mikal Bridges gets the ball, he wants to shoot. When, any other Knick besides Josh Hart pretty much touches the ball, they're looking to score. And I mean, even Mitchell Robinson might be looking to score sometimes, even though he don't want to get fouled.
Yeah,
But
Tip went real desperate with his lineup. That's why I
what up,
think
Mike?
why you didn't get McBride in there a lot because
Right.
I watched it. I think I probably turned the game on maybe late into the first, early in the second. And I was like, Landry Shamet and Wright on the floor. Like these dudes haven't played more than like 17 minutes combined his whole playoff run.
Right.
And I thought that was going to be their downfall. So when they ended up down 20, but to his credit, man, he stuck with it. Like I said, that's why I'm over
That's
here in
because
my
you ain't been
bedroom.
paying attention. Because if you've been watching these here playoffs, when the Knicks are down 20, they got you right where they want you. So we saw them come back from 20 twice against Boston, and here you go again. So as this series plays out, game 4 right now, Pacers up 5 at the half. So let's just walk this out for a second. Let's say the Knicks win tonight. So you're going back to New York 2-2. Walk me through the rest of that series.
If the Knicks get back to New York 2-2, the Pacers better sleep in a hotel in Jersey or in Connecticut. They better not stay anywhere in the city and not let anybody know because the Knicks fans, because like going back, leaving New York down 0-2 and coming back 2-2, that's a different level of pressure. Because we talked about it in the previous round. Charles Barkley said he was like, because him and Kenny and Shaq, they were talking about being up 2-0. The pressure in game 3 is if we lose game 3, we have the possibility of losing game 4 and blowing what looked like a crazy lead in the series. So the pressure shifts to Indiana. If they lose 2 games at home and then go to New York, the fans are crazy. They're watching the games at Central Park. They're watching the games in the alley outside at Madison Square Garden. People in the fans throwing trash on people. So I think just that environment. And if, like I said, if Tibbs can get 8, 12, 14 minutes out of these other guys, and Jalen, even if he's in foul trouble or not, and have them for that fourth quarter, because I think that was the difference the other day was that Josh Hart and all these guys weren't playing 42 minutes of all-out basketball. It was like Brunson was in foul trouble, so he was sitting down, and then Cat just was getting good looks. But yeah, so going back to New York 2-2, I got that. That'd be tough. That'd be tough. I don't
See. This is where I disagree. So I thought initially, after game 1, I was like, hey, I don't know how the Knicks get themselves off the mat after that, right? So game 2 happened, and my thought going into game 2 was the Knicks got to blow them out. Like the Knicks got to come out and put them down by 20 and just say no. Game 1 was the fluke of all flukes. We on your ass now. So, so Indiana took game 2. They came back to Indiana. So this is what I was thinking. So game 3 against Cleveland. Cleveland walked into Indiana and smacked them by like 25 or 30.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when the game played out how it played the other night, I said, okay, like we got ourselves a series. But then now, as I'm watching this game, and like I said, using some of the things that you were saying to me off camera, I'm like, I don't know if Cat can do this for another 3 or 4 games because they're going to need it. Like I don't think that I don't think there's another Nick besides Jalen Brunson right now that you can truthfully say that you can rely on. And the problem with that is that the Knicks keep playing the Pacers style. So if they were playing like that grinded slow, like you were talking about the grind out team, if the Knicks were doing that, I would agree with you because they could beat them up the way that
If
the
the
Cavs
Knicks
would
are
beat
trying to
the
win
Pacers.
this
The
game
Warriors.
103 to 99, then yeah, they'd be good to go. But they can't play these games 116 or
Yeah, I
113
mean they
back to
gave
back
up
to back.
43 in the first quarter tonight.
Aaron Gordon said in his press conference after they lost to OKC, he was like, it would be good to have like an additional day off
Oh, now he
with the
like Bridges,
travel
huh?
day. So it's
Yeah,
like and I understand to a point because right now they're playing this game in Indiana. Granted, the flight is only a couple hours, it's private, whatever the case may be. But more than likely, you're gonna leave tonight. When like
right.
no matter how you win or lose, you're probably gonna go from that arena, locker room, shower, get dressed on a bus to the tarmac, grab your food on the way there, into your private jet or your team jet, and you're flying New York to Teterboro or Indiana back to Teterboro, one of these private jet landing spots. Then you got to get yourself from the airport to wherever you live. So if you're Nick, if you live in a city, no matter if you live in a city, if you live in Jersey, it's going to be 45 minutes to an hour, even if you have somebody waiting, because where the
Mhm.
airports are situated in Jersey. So even with the private jet, best case scenario, we're looking at 9:23 right now. This game is probably done by midnight. You're in your bed 2:15, and you got to be up probably for shoot around by 9 or 10. And then you gotta get the rest of your rest in, and then you're playing again. So it's gonna be tough, especially if they lose,
Well, see,
because it's like it's yeah.
I think that some players just have certain mentalities, right? So when I think of Halliburton, and I'm not trying to say he done conjured up the spirit of Reggie Miller or something, but he just seems to be the guy that allows things to bounce off. So even though they lost game 3 the other day, I don't see him sulking on it. Like remember OKC lost that game to Denver. I think it was game 1, and you were talking about how in the press conference you didn't like SGA's body language. He was
Correct.
like, I think that Halliburton is the antithesis of that.
Okay. So we
You,
got the
you,
thesaurus out.
yeah, I think Halliburton is the kind of guy that would go back to New York 2-2 and just say, I got to break their hearts again. Now, the problem is, to your point, is the Knicks on you. They ready for you now. Like you already got your game 1, your miracle shot, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff like that. So you might need that again. And I don't know if that's there either. I just think that looking at what both teams do best, I just think that the Pacers style is more repeatable than the Knicks. Like the way the Knicks won game
Yeah.
3.
The way the Knicks won game 3, it doesn't seem to be sustainable.
Right. And and, and, I-
Just
and like
because,
I said,
like I
Cat
said,
is
you
done.
had people contributing that hadn't really played much. That's gonna be kind of hard to replicate in game 4.
Hey, the rest of
You'll
this
see
game, Cat might go 2 for 9.
And like I said, if Carlisle, who's a good coach, I mean championship coach, if he recognizes like that huffing and puffing, or if there's an assistant, like, okay, they brought it another big number 13. His name escapes me right now, but that's another guy you can get 1 or 2 fouls on, because they're not calling every foul, because the way
Right.
Cat plays is very lumbering. It's not very fluid, so it looks somewhat clumsy. So even if he's getting tripped or he's getting bumped, every possession, every dribble for him looks kind of clumsy. So the refs can be like, I can't call everything. Jalen Brunson, he keeps doing this every time he dribbles. So it's like, if you don't get the foul calls, it's going to be some frustration, or just the energy it takes just to be those two guys are the guys that are taking people off dribble. Like you said, Anunoby. Anunoby is 1-2 dribbles. I'm at the rim. I'm trying to make something happen here. He he doesn't dribble the air out of the ball. Like, it's pretty quick. Mikal Bridges gets the ball in the post, 1-2 dribble, turn around. It's like, if it's going to drop, it's going to drop. Cat and Jalen Brunson, they get themselves in trouble because they do spend a lot of time. Like Cat right now, get back in the second half. You're probably going to see it in a second. Siakam just kind of crossed him up, and he like clumsily like stumbled. This is the first possession in the third quarter. He just damn near fell off a crossover. So it's like, if that's fatigue, it's going to really factor in this second half. So
and I think the Pacers also have 2 routes to victory, and one of them they haven't even really used yet. Obviously you can go matchup hunting and trying to find Jalen Brunson on defense, and like you said, he's prone to make dumb fouls.
Yeah.
But on top of that,
this entire playoff run, he's been doing it.
But on top of that, we haven't even seen the hack a Mitch yet. You know what I mean? Like, the Pacers haven't been using that. And I like the fact that they aren't using it because it's not cowardly basketball. And, it's something that you got in your stash that you haven't needed yet. And I think that by doing that, it slows the Pacers down, and that's not what they want to do. But speaking of that, Mr. Logical,
yeah.
So Mark Daigneault tried to do it again. He tried to do it again. Screw all this following up 3. Saying you got the best defense in the league, playing against a team that turns the ball over in a situation that they have to rush to get up and down the court. And you're still trying to play this, I'm going to foul you, shoot the free throws. Now you foul me, shoot the free throws. SGA missed one of those free throws last night. And of course, we were talking about it, right? There was more time on that clock.
Yeah. When the guy caught the ball, it was 0.6. It was 0.6 when he caught the ball. It was very clear. I don't know if they factored in if it would have hit the floor, but we don't have any of those facts. The fact was when he caught the ball, it was 0.6. I don't know how they determine 0.3. I'm not understanding the NBA replay system needs to be legislated because it is awful. I don't understand it. I don't understand the foul calls. I can go on and on a ridiculous rant about it, but I understand, like, you want to play a strategy and fouling up 3. It works if you get the rebounds and you knock down the free throws.
Right.
So like that's and last night they were able to do that.
See, there's Cat being clumsy again. But the thing that stands out about this Minnesota OKC series to me, it's all about the narratives. So back when OKC was playing Memphis in the first round,
excuse me,
a lot of the talk was, oh, they're running over Memphis. What are they going to do the first time they see adversity? Well, so far, they've won every game after they've lost a game. Minnesota, on the other hand, was the team that was supposed to be gritty, ready for anything, ready for war. And then they went out here and had an easy series against the Lakers. Steph got hurt, so they had an easy series. And now they're the ones that can't react to adversity.
Well, they can't play their style either, considering that Steph, we talked about how Steph doesn't get foul calls, but Steph won't lean into it every dribble drive. I think Steph likes to get his shot off because I look at it like this. I don't want you to foul your way off the floor. I want you out here while I'm busting you open. Pause. Like, I want you out here, like, learning these lessons. I don't want you sitting on the bench thinking, if I was out there, I could do something different. I want you out here on this floor watching these threes fall, because that Steph doesn't foul bait. Mm-hmm. He wants to step on your throat by, I want you out here. I want you all your effort and your sweat, and I want you to turn around and watch this ball go through the net while I'm shimmying at the crowd. Like, right. I think that's more demoralizing than the refs took me out of my game. Now I get to come back with some confidence, because you can really ruin, even in the NBA, these guys are playing at the highest level, top 400 guys in the world. Their confidence can be shattered. Like I said, I picked OKC and Boston as my finals matchup. I didn't think Denver was going to be able to push OKC to 7, but they did, and they prevailed. Minnesota is just a team that they just have enough to be exciting to get you to the Western Conference Finals right now. I don't think they're lack. I just think it's just something other teams have another gear to go to more consistently.
I think that
That
OKC is
50-point
just too
game that they
deep.
had.
I think
Yeah,
OKC is just too deep, and I think that Anthony Edwards, dear Ant, I love you, bro, but I need you to do me a favor this summer, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Just sit around and watch some SGA videos. And not even from the standpoint of trying to draw fouls. SGA finds spots that he wants to get to. You know, whether it's that little free throw line mid range, whether it's that little jumper on the baseline, he finds those spots.
it's
Anthony
such an
Edwards,
easy shot. Like, I mean,
yeah.
most guys in NBA shooting 70% from the free throw line. Granted, it's standing still, but that means because it's close. Like, if guys were shooting free throw like from the 3-point line, if that was they'd probably be around like 55 to 65%.
Right.
Get a little closer. You're 6'4", 6'5", athletic. Put pressure on the defense.
And I think that's the thing is that Ant, instead of Ant saying, because we saw Jordan do this, right? Like you get down to that block, a couple of dribbles, he turned around and fade on you. Kobe did the same thing. So with Anthony Edwards, I don't think because he's only 23 years old, first of all. So I'm not trying to shit on the dude. So let me start there. I'm not trying to shit on the dude because he's got a long career left and he's going to break a lot of hearts and embarrass a lot of people. But he hasn't figured out yet the spot that he needs to get to. Usually what will happen is that SGA or whoever he's playing against may score, and then he'll just come down and pull up a three on some ego shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just scored. I got to get my get back.
I think he doesn't I want to say understand. The dagger is also you saying, I can do what you can do, but you can't do what I can do. Like the way he attacks the rim, I don't think anyone on OKC can do that. He can shoot the three, but if he can manage the mid-range, who's going to defend him at like Caruso? Caruso can't defend him in the mid-range.
Yeah, and OKC went boxing one on him in the first half last night, and he only took 2 shots in the whole half. He only took 13 in the whole game. And so when you go back and look at it, you think to yourself, and I'm not trying
coaching. I always
it is.
Every time I see a guy get an easy layup in the game, I'm thinking to myself, how do teams go the last 7 minutes of the game, no field goal? And I'm like, just pick and roll and get a layup. Get a layup or get a free throw.
Well, it's crazy because it was a 2-point game. Minnesota led in all the categories, rebounds, assists, all that stuff. I never thought OKC was going to lose that game. It was a 2-point game. I never thought OKC was going to lose that game because OKC would make that play. Like they weren't necessarily daggers because it was a close game, but there would be moments where like, McDaniels, they hit a 3 and you'll say to yourself, oh man, Minnesota got the momentum now. And then OKC would come down.
OKC come down, get another layup.
Yeah, there was one play. Chet missed the 3. Caruso grabbed it. And like, I could have took a shot, and by the time I would have been done with my shot, Chet was halfway to the rim with his hands out, and Caruso just dumped it off. He came through and dunked it, and it was like that's the stuff that Minnesota's not getting. And when you're playing against a team like OKC, you can't be haphazard with the ball. You can't turn it over. You can't. You got to protect that thing. And last night was the night, right? That was the night for Minnesota to win. You had Nickeil Walker-Alexander probably have his best game of the playoffs. White Dante showed up. We like Naz Reid came out of the witness protection program. And you know what I mean?
They had the momentum from game 3.
Yeah, and see, I was on the hot box last night, and our newest addition to the hot box, he said something that is fucking hilarious, but it's stupid, but it's hilarious. He said, Minnesota ain't going to win another game in this series. They got lucky to win game 3. And I said, bro, they won by 42. Like, that ain't no luck. But when you think about it, it might have just been.
I text the hot box when I was watching the game. I think they were down like 33 or 34. And I was like, all right, you got 3 minutes left in the third. You're down damn near 40. When do you pull the starters? When do you just wait? Because what happens is, we talk about this a lot, in those blowout games, those role players, because they're up so much, they can just fire it off. Like you up 25, you up 30, just shoot. Like we good. But when you up 6, they pass the ball around a lot.
Right. He said he lost 78 grand on Indiana, you know what I'm saying? But but that's the crazy thing about it is that, Minnesota, this is the second straight year that we've seen this, right? So it makes me wonder. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to shit on Ant. I am not comparing him to James Harden. Nothing like that, but I am asking the question is, do you think that we're getting to a point where Ant puts so much stress on himself that when we get to this point, the tank might be. I know you always do the, hey, he's only 23, them legs are young, but is he putting too much stress on himself to where when we get to this point, he has a little bit less than he should?
I
Pause.
don't think so. Like I think these guys, like I said, I think they're young and healthy, athletic guys. As I'm watching the Knicks just battle,
I'm saying when Raph come
I
into the
think
hot box.
I'll make an appearance soon. I just think that it's just a matter of the possessions in the playoffs. They matter a lot more, and you're he could drop 30, 32. Like he had like in game 2, he had like 32 or 34, something like that, and they still lost. Some of these possessions just the way it goes. Like you have what you have as a team. I think he has a good team, but keep in mind they made trades to make that team look the way it looked. It might take a couple of years. OKC has been building for like 2 years to get to this point. So this is like
Mhm.
year 3 of Chet, SGA,
Facts.
Daigneault, and then
Mhm.
they brought in like role player pieces that are very vital. Caruso, Hartenstein. So they built on what they had guys develop, and then they brought in plug and play pieces. Minnesota just has to get a couple plug and play pieces that defend and rebound. That way, you can get Gobert off the floor if you need to give him a break, or he can play a little bit more aggressive because okay, I got another guy that's going to defend and rebound that's going to come in for me. I can go after this block. I can go after this rebound. Where I don't think they can do that now because you saw last night. Everyone knew if he was going to try to miss that free throw because you had to bring Gobert back in because
Right.
you don't have like a Josh Hart kind of guy that can play a couple of different roles for you.
Hey, so which fight do we get first? Teofimo Lopez and Boots Ennis or Aaron Neesmith and Jalen Brunson?
Uh if I'm Indiana, I get anybody else to fight Jalen Brunson, but
Because
it's
they
it's
like
it's getting
they like
close.
literally they pushing for real. Like Jalen Brunson, like he can't. Neesmith came down the court. Jalen Brunson gave him nothing but shoulder.
Yeah, because I think on the previous play when Neesmith got the dunk, it was probably a bit of a hard screen on Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, but so yeah, so I think Minnesota's pretty much done. You're not gonna beat OKC 3 times in a row. You know what I mean? Like it was already one of those things where it's like you got to beat them 3 out of 4. Now you got to literally beat them 3 times in a row, and I just don't think that's happening. And so the other observation that I had, because I said Anthony Edwards needs to watch SGA tape, and the other observation is SGA isn't necessarily a playmaker in that point guard kind of way, but he makes the right place.
He's a
He makes the right
baller,
play. Yeah, he just
a
knows
lot
what
like
to
Jalen
do.
Brunson. Like
And
I'm,
I think Anthony Edwards gets mad sometimes when he has to pass the ball. Like he just like checks out. Like he didn't get the shot. So like they used to talk about how you could tell when when the play is for Randy Moss because of how
yeah.
fast he's going, and if you don't see him blocking, like if he don't just take off down the field, the play ain't for him. That's how it feels with Ant sometimes, where like he passes the ball and then he's just like, all right, y'all got it, or like he's just frustrated that he can't get his
Well,
shot off.
according to him, like he doesn't really have uh anybody in the league that he looks up to. So maybe he doesn't have the conversation like Carmelo talked about a conversation he had with Jordan. He was like, how many points you want to average? He was like, I want to average 28 points. He was like, cool. That's 7 points a quarter. That's 2 layups and a three, 1 layup, couple free throws every quarter. Like that's all you really got to do. And he's like, you can build upon that. But that information came from a conversation I had with Jordan. He's like, I listened to that conversation. I went out average 31 the next year. Dwight Howard working with Akeem Olajuwon. I'm not sure Ant is seeking that kind of advice.
Well, I
I know
know he
during the
said
Olympics he was
that Kevin
fanboying over
Durant.
Kevin Durant.
Well, I know he said Kevin Durant was his favorite player, but I don't know.
He can't do the same thing Kevin Durant does.
Right. And that was one of the things originally when this whole Kevin Durant is not going to be in Phoenix next year. That was the team that I originally had KD going to. You know what I mean? But that was before the Cat trade, obviously. So, I don't know. But in other news, Denver has decided to retain their interim coach, Adelman. How you feeling about that? Do it make a difference?
I always feel like you should expand the search, considering he had, what is it, 6 games or less in the regular season, and then went right to the playoffs.
I want to say it was 3.
Yeah, I think it was like, so 3 games,
Yeah.
went right into the playoffs, and Joker showed out. I
was
don't know
Aaron
if that's
Rodgers.
a coaching thing.
Yeah.
I think it was a Joker thing. But I mean, I don't know. I'm always wary when you hire someone from within, when you fired the guy that hired him and he's instituting that guy's style and system. So it's like, so you got rid of the guy, but you kept everybody else in place that operated the system. So eventually you're going to get to the point where it's going to repeat itself, because we talked about it in the playoffs. Like we talked about Aaron Gordon, his statement when he's saying it'd have been nice to have like a day off. Well, it would be better if you played 10 guys instead of 7. Because if you play 10, then maybe Aaron Gordon gets 6 extra game time minutes, and
maybe he's not even on the court when he did whatever he did to his hamstring.
So like, and that could be 20 live minutes, 20, 25 minutes. 6 minutes in the game, depends on what quarter it is. So that could be huge. But that's a coaching style. And apparently he would just kind of run the same thing Mike Malone did. I think Mike Malone probably was just pissed off. Like, I'm sick of being here. It's when you quietly quit your job. He's like, I'm done being here. I'm done dealing with all this other stuff.
And
now
I see Russ is having surgery. He broke 2 bones in his hand, apparently. And, we got to see what's happening this offseason. Michael Porter, is he on the move? Is it time to come off Jamal Murray? Like, there's got to be some kind of renovation going on.
If anybody's probably on the move, I would say Michael Porter Jr., because I think any team would take a stretch 4, especially now. I think his contract is a couple of years old, so it might not be as crazy. Like, he might be getting 32 million,
right?
Yeah, so it's like you take 32 million. Like, you know what? I'll give him 32 million over giving, a guy on my team 47 million or something.
Well, you know what? Here's some advice for Michael Porter Jr. Watch some Rashard Lewis tape.
Yeah, exclusively.
Yeah.
Him or Larry Bird.
So, of course, as a wrestling fan, the wrestling fan that I am, you have your steel cage matches, your Hell in a Cell, your Extreme Rules, and now we're playing by SEC and Big Ten rules. The college football playoff is changing. We knew it, so it sounds like we're going to straight up seeding now. So we knew this was going to happen last year when Arizona State and Boise got byes in this playoff. Correct. There ain't no way in hell that's going to fly. When we couldn't get Alabama in, Ole Miss couldn't get in. No, it ain't happening. So here we are, straight seeding. So there's also talk, because of course this upcoming season is the last year of this current playoff deal. So now the rumor is we're going to 16. So with that, Mr. Logical, real quick before we get to the seeding, it sounds like there might be something in place where 13 and 16 play each other, 14 and 15 play each other. So it's almost like a play-in to get into the tournament. So 1, how do you feel about 16 teams? 2, if it is 16 teams, how do you feel about that play-in type of game that they're talking about.
I hate the idea of 16 teams. 8 is enough. Like 4 was definitely not enough. 12 is extra. Going 1 through 12 with the seeding, we might get better. I want to say better upset. We might get an upset. Maybe. But 16 teams, all that's going to do is, if it's 16 teams, that means we would have had Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Bama, and
And
insert
Miami.
Miami. So it would just been like, we watched this whole football season play out. We had 12 spots for the playoff. It's supposed to broaden the championship, expectations for every team, level the playing field. And then we're going to get to December and Selection Sunday, and it was going to be 13 Big Ten and Big Ten and SEC schools, and maybe 1 or 2 ACC. I mean, it just would have been just excessive. So 12 is enough. And make the regular season matter. Like, listen, if Alabama doesn't make the 12, that is fine, because that means there's other teams better than them this year. It's not as if you're going to put in a team that was worse than Bama over Bama. So, like, that's my issue, is like, they weren't going to get passed up. Colorado might have gotten passed up. Like, if it was an even, like, you know what, we're going to take a 9-3 Ole Miss or a 10-2 Colorado. Yeah, they might have bumped Ole Miss above a Colorado. But if Bama's in the running, realistically, and they have the wins, the win-loss record, the big wins, the road wins, no bad losses, they're getting in.
Right,
So,
and that was the problem. Nobody told you to go get bitch slapped by Oklahoma.
If they beat Oklahoma, they're in. So it's like everyone was making it seem as if Alabama was getting railroaded. It's like, no, they played Oklahoma late and lost. Like,
I'll see
and
your
it happens.
Oklahoma. I'll see your Oklahoma, and I'll raise you up. If you didn't lose the Vanderbilt, you would have been in.
Yeah, but if you just got, if I take one of them away, one of the bad losses, like mainly that Oklahoma one, because it was late, because that's the one everybody remember, and that's the one they were like hanging their hat on, like, yo, you can't fault the committee because you just lost to Oklahoma. That Vandy loss, they still would have been fine if they would have beaten Oklahoma. And people would have argued, oh, they lost to Vandy. Oh, well, they still got 10 wins. They're SEC school. They beat Georgia. They're in.
And guess what?
That would have been the whole argument.
And guess what? If they would have not lost one of those 2 games, they would have played for the SEC title. They were literally in the SEC title game until they lost to Oklahoma.
And if they lose that, they're 10-3, and they're still in, because they wouldn't have held the SEC championship game against them, because the SEC champion is probably considered one of the better teams in the country. So, like, it would have been a win-win for them if they just would have won in Norman. So 12 teams is enough. I like 1 through 12. I didn't like the bye system last year.
I don't like the 1 through 12 the way that it is now, just because it's still the college football committee making these decisions. And to your point, saying, I remember Game, one of those disses, the 50, I think it was 300 bars. He was like, 50 the wrong one to ask to help with your rhyme, because all he's going to do is tell you to say G Unit one more time. And that's the committee. Like, don't give them the power. They just going to say go SEC. And what I'm saying? So that's what we're stuck with.
They already have that power. It's just that, listen, some people are starting this 100-meter race 20 meters ahead of everybody else.
Right.
It's just that simple. And certain schools are going to have that, because their strength, SEC and Big Ten strength of schedule projected, when you start out week 1, when the schedule drops, the projection will be, they're going to have the toughest conference. They're going to have the toughest schedule. They're going to have the toughest games.
Mm-hmm.
The playing out, it might not pan out that way, because Miami was in the same situation where their strength of schedule wasn't that tough, but their defense didn't play great. Just the number 1 overall pick played like number 1 overall pick all year long. So it kind of masked like their competition. SEC and Big Ten, all they're gonna have to say is like, look, we got Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Nebraska. They're all good teams, and that's gonna be enough for them. And the SEC is gonna have their LSU, Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss, South Carolina argument.
Yeah, and it
And they're
sounds like
they're gonna ride that from August until December. So
yeah, and
you're
it sounds
already
like we're
20
going to get
meters
those
ahead.
4 buys. I mean, not 4 buys. The 4
The automatic
SEC
bids.
teams and the 4 Big Ten teams. But the winner in this situation, the beneficiary, if you will, the one and only Notre Dame Fighting Irish, because now with that removed out the way, because remember, we talked about this last year as it was, since the top 4 conference champions got the bye, Notre Dame couldn't get the bye. The highest they could get was number 5. Now that you take this off the table, an 11-1 Notre Dame team is getting a bye.
It's number 4. Yeah, they're
You
number
know
4.
yeah, and but while we talk about Notre Dame, another beneficiary for different reason, and pardon my French, just because they some baby back bitches, you know what I'm saying? Those USC Trojans out there in California, because they said the Big Ten is too hard for me. And nobody told you to join the Big Ten in the first place. But the Big Ten is too hard for me. So now we're on the verge of potentially losing Notre Dame and USC as a rivalry game. And then to top that off, this is how big of bitches USC is. And to a bigger degree, Lincoln Riley, the biggest bitch of all. Because what did he do? You talk about it all the time. I'm not going anywhere. And then he was out in LA before you could blink.
Man, he
But
had
what
the
happened
tie
that year?
and everything on the jet.
But what happened that next year?
They kept
Oklahoma
losing to
joined
Utah.
the SEC. Oklahoma joined the SEC that year. He ran the USC. You know what I'm saying? Now they in the Big Ten. Oh, no. Our schedule is too hard. Like, we might not be able to keep playing Notre Dame.
You're probably the financially the richest school, for lack of a better word, in Southern California. You have, most people probably say, top 5 high school talent in the country. You Florida, Texas,
And it's
Georgia, California, like you're in that mix. You should be able to recruit just off the trophies alone. Bring them down to the campus, have them meet Marcus Allen, show them Reggie Bush's jersey, have Matt Leinart show them around campus.
Keyshawn's still on TV.
Whatever you got to do, like, you should be able to benefit from your school. They're just not good at recruiting. They're not good at retainability.
The even matter about it is that, because whenever Notre Dame goes to USC, it's generally the last game of the season, or, the next to last game. Notre Dame hooked USC up and said, yo, we'll let you come here mid-October instead of when we play you in November, just in case it's snowing out here. So, you know what I'm saying? So we made this concession to you so you could come play in decent weather. And now this game has 15 Heisman winners between the two teams. It is absolutely disrespectful to the game of football
if they don't play that rivalry.
Away. Yeah, I mean, we already lost Notre Dame, Michigan. You know what I mean? Like, come on. But anyway, but yeah, so Notre Dame benefits from this because they get to get buys now. And now Notre Dame, they're talking all this strength of schedule, right? So Notre Dame plays 5 ACC schools contractually every single season. But starting next year, they play Clemson every year for the next 12 years. And they still want to play USC. So I don't want to hear it.
That's an interesting deal.
Yeah, so what happens is, Notre Dame is an ACC member and everything else. So they're contractually obligated to play those 5 games. Now, to keep FSU and Clemson, with this whole, hey, they're trying to leave the ACC, whatever. What the ACC decided to do was give more money to the schools that get the ratings. So Clemson said, sign us up to play Notre Dame then. You can't get no bigger ratings than that.
At a certain point, there is going to be a recognition by certain schools, depends on where you are. You're going to have to elevate your own brand because your postseason bowl game will not do it for you.
Right.
It's not like NCAA basketball where you can get your postseason run and your FAU, or if you're San Diego State, and you can get your name out there, you get some recruits, get some transfers. If you're BYU, Colorado, Utah, Oregon State, SMU, like you're gonna have to win out in this regular season or just be a fantastic team to watch as far as excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Miami with winning games 48-42 on Hail Marys. You're gonna have to build your own brand because the NCAA is no longer concerned with elevating your brand. It's about how do we maximize these TV deals, and the Scarlet jerseys of Ohio State on TV gonna get paid. That
Mm-hmm.
Alabama Roll Tide, they're gonna get paid. The Bulldog in between the hedges SEC matchups, they're gonna be on TV. They're gonna drive the
And
ratings. They're gonna be part of the conversation. So
so
you're gonna have to do your best.
so check out Notre Dame's first 9 games this year. This is their first 9 games this year. At Miami, then they get a bye week. They get Texas A&M coming in. They get their in-state rival Purdue the week after that. They go to Arkansas. The week after they play at Arkansas, they got Boise coming in. Then they get NC State, USC at home, and then go on the road to Boston College, their little Catholic brother, and then they come back home for Navy. That's their first 9 games of this year.
5-4.
You know what I'm saying? but hey, if they finish and they close the season at Pitt versus Syracuse and at Stanford. So if Notre Dame goes 9-3 this year, they might have a hell of an argument, that
Ten and
Alabama and those
two,
guys
10
couldn't
and
have.
2 locks them in at 11.
Right. Exactly. But that's just nuts. But the other thing that we wanted to talk about
Yes.
is, we were talking about Nick Saban a couple of weeks ago and how Donald J. Trump was going to start a commission that would put Nick Saban as, for lack of better words, the commissioner of college football. And the point of this is to regulate NIL and so on and so forth. So Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner today, was talking some big boy shit all day long about the NCAA because me and you have been having this conversation where I've been saying, hey, by 2030, if the NCAA is still a thing, I would be shocked. As far as being the governing body of college
Yeah.
football, and that the Big Ten and SEC going to do their AFC NFC thing. So anyway, now the article that I sent you was talking about if these schools don't sign this binding contract, they could find themselves expelled from their conferences. And I know Tennessee was school number one that I've heard because they have a bill out right now that's trying to challenge the House versus NCAA rule and all that. So there was talks a couple of weeks ago of, is Tennessee
Tennessee
going
is
to get
just
kicked out of the
flailing.
SEC?
They're just flailing. They're just flailing because they think they're a part of the big boy crew, and they're not. You're the little boy on the block. I hope these schools have good law education and they have good alumni who are lawyers who can really help leverage this, because it seems like a bit of a, I don't know, antitrust lawsuit investigation or something. It just seems a little illegal to just demand that you join this union or this new thing, or we're going to take away your it just seems a little unfair, slightly illegal. But in our current America, where you don't have to listen to the Supreme Court justices when they tell you to do stuff, who knows? Who knows? Who knows what happens in these states that voted for
Yeah,
certain people, and who they're willing to be afraid of and not. Uh but man, just follow the money. It boils down to the money, and
right.
it's not the competition. It's just who wants to control the money. Like I said, I'm a firm believer that the NIL is different than what you pay a guy to come to the school, because that's not the same thing. People are lumped in together. My name, image, and likeness is for me. And I'll use the Kim Kardashian or the whole Kardashian Jenner clan as an example. They have product deals where if they wear a product or use a product and post about it, they probably get $1 million because they have 300 million, 400 million followers. So they get $1 million. If we had a liquid death deal and we had 10,000 followers, we can't expect to get $1 million. But that doesn't mean that they have to get capped at, 50,000 or whatever, because that's what we deem as fair. If Caleb Williams, when he was at USC, he was in a Dr. Pepper commercial. Everybody's not getting that. He shouldn't be denied whatever that commercial pays him and the residuals that come from it because some commission feels like too many linebackers are transferring out. Like, that's not everybody's problem. And I think trying to throw it all under one umbrella, considering that 3 years ago, the conversation was, we don't know how we're going to pay these players, so we're just not going to do it. Now, all of a sudden, you guys are getting paid. You have a whole commission. You got a whole plan. You have a whole governing body that's going to maintain this. But you couldn't figure out how to get guys, to not steal from teammates 36 months ago. Like, cut it out. And that's my beef with this. Like, I think the people who want to call the shots, they don't want to call the shots because it's reckless. Because if we looked at college football, I think we had a pretty good goddamn playoff. I think if Quinn Ewers doesn't get strip sacked by Sawyer, he might throw a touchdown. We got a tie game going into overtime, considering he just converted a 4th down the week before against Arizona State to get him to that point. I think we had an outstanding playoff run. I think the Colorado buzz is good. I think Dylan Raiola in Nebraska. I think lag way down in the foot. I think college football is in a good spot. I don't believe that the movement of the players is hindering the team as much as they want you to believe, considering that the team still holds all the cards. They don't have to give this guy 4.1 million. They don't have to give this guy 4.1 thousand if they don't want to. They're doing it, and now they're making it seem like the players are the reason. I'm not going to this, like Carson Beck's not going to Miami if the $4 million wasn't offered up from Miami. It's that simple.
Jalen Brunson, now he's getting into it with Matherin. I think that what's not good is that BYU might be down their starting returning quarterback because of these sexual assault allegations. So, that could be a thing, but back to this. So look, I think some of it depends on perspective, because I'm definitely in the camp of get your money, because these schools been getting too fat off of these players for way too long. Just what was that? King of New York, right? Like, if a nickel bag gets sold in MacArthur Park, I want in. You know what I mean? But as a guy that just loves some college football, you know what I mean? I think it's time the shit'll get off the pot. And what I mean by that is these Power 4 conferences need to just do their thing and go their own separate ways if this is what it is. Because without a cap on NIL, you're effectively telling teams like Northern Illinois, who went into South Bend and beat Notre Dame last year, you're not one of us. You're not on our level. And we know we got eyes, so we know that that's absolutely true.
Yeah, but like I said, that's always been the case.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's stop the facade. Just call it what it is. Just move on. Y'all go over here.
That's the thing. It's not really a facade. It's the same. It's the same thing that happens every single time. And I went on a rant about it a few weeks ago. It's the billionaire. It's the people in power who control the narrative are telling regular people that these other people who are regular athletes shouldn't be getting this money. Meanwhile, Oregon's locker room for years has been flooded with special edition Jordans for the girls basketball team, the boys basketball team, the volleyball team, the football teams, where 8 different combinations of jerseys. They come out different jerseys at halftime. Their warm-ups are different. You mean to tell me Toledo was getting that same Nike stuff? No, they weren't. Oregon was been getting this stuff.
Hey, real quick, you said earlier, right? Well, yeah, if the Knicks can grind this and get a 103-99 victory, it's 102-91 at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a tough look.
No, I'm
So
with you.
that's my thing with the
But
NIL, because it's like
the facade is that
once they get to revenue sharing,
you
that's
create.
gonna have to be mathematically
Well,
locked in.
definitely. But you're creating a
But the
playoff and
NIL
telling
thing,
me, like last year, right? This playoff that you were just talking about. Boise State got their bye. You know what I mean? Obviously, they came out and lost to a better team. That had more talent, all that kind of stuff. So that's the facade. Is if you're telling me that Cincinnati and Boise, Cincinnati back then because they're in the Big 12 now, but if you're telling me that these teams start the season with the same chance to win the national title as Michigan, as Ohio State, whatever the case may be, that's the facade. So stop
yeah,
the games.
but that's not the cap. That's the thing. The individual money to
But without the cap,
players.
you ain't gonna never have
That's
balance.
the thing. That's the thing. That isn't the problem. The cap. If you want to, if you want everybody to start the starting blocks together side by side for this 400-meter race, then you have to cap how much money the school spends on the sport, not the individual players
Definitely, but that ain't gonna never happen.
accumulating money. That's what I'm saying. So, like, even if you regulate, hey, you can only pay $1 million to get a transfer player in, that's still not going to change how much money
That ain't
Toledo
gonna change
has
that $7
or
billion
Tulane
TV deal.
has versus what Ohio State and what Michigan have. So
Right.
all it's going to do is allow teams like Michigan, who can afford to just get 10 players at $1 million each, and
Mhm.
all the guys who are playing at SMU, Arizona State, graduate students from Kansas State, all these other guys who can only get, and they say they cap it at $1 million. Now, Michigan or Georgia or Alabama or Oregon, any of these schools, they know for a fact that, listen, I know I got $10 million to spend. And especially if these guys can only get $1 million,
Mhm.
I'm going to go buy the best 10 players that fit my
Right.
program.
Right.
And I'm going to take those 10 players from these other programs anyway. The money isn't the money that the players are getting, it's the money that the schools have already had. So
Mhm.
you're telling me that, oh, these guys are getting so much money and it's ruined college football. The schools have already had the money and they're using it for football. It's not even like they have the money and it's like football is kind of getting some of it. It's it's
It's a
directly
whole
feeding
industry.
the community. It's the
Right.
parking, it's the beers they sell outside, it's the food they sell outside, it's the 100,000 tickets they sell every week. I've driven through Harrisonburg, Pennsylvania. I don't think there's 100,000 people in that area when you pass by the stadium. But every Saturday, it's 110,000 people in white t-shirts.
And that's why I say, like, just cut the cord. Just Toledo and y'all go over there. We gonna do our thing over here and have our league or whatever you want to call it.
That's what I'm like. I don't think you need to change anything because it's already that way. You don't need to clearly define the line. Like we don't need a new border. We don't need a new barrier. The barrier is we get this much money, you don't. We have Diana, they don't. It's like it's that simple. Like it's we this is what we have and you don't have it. You won't be able to compete with us and you never will. Even if you
Right.
come even if Ohio State's starting quarterback plays this year and say he's from Indiana and he wants to go home to Purdue and Purdue's like, cool, we'll give you 2.5 million. Cool. They'll that guy will go to Purdue and be a quarterback, and Ohio State will go get the next best guy either out of high school or in the transfer portal, along with the best left tackle, the
Mhm.
best guard, the best safety, the top two wide receivers, and they will reload and they'll beat the bricks off of Purdue, no matter that fact that they got this other guy for $2 million.
And that's the
That is
thing,
not what
like,
that's not setting teams apart like
I
the
always
transfer
wonder.
portal and that NIL money.
I always wonder, and we'll wrap this one up. I've
Yeah.
always wondered how Tulane feels about this because they started out in the SEC, and that was part of the reason that they left because they said, this is a educational institution first, sports comes second. So now that we fast forward, you know, 50 years after they leave, I wonder how they feel if they still stand by that decision or if they're kind of kicking themselves every so often. Like,
They gave
damn,
a
like
dude $4 million to play quarterback. They do not stand by that decision. I don't know if they checked his grades,
well, they lost
but
their quarterback to Duke. You know what I mean? So that
and
I mean,
they had to get in the hustle like everybody else. Like you said, a
that's
nickel bag
crazy.
in MacArthur Park. I went in, and
That's crazy.
that's what you have to do. If
Yeah.
when the revenue sharing comes down, and it's like, hey, college football this season is gonna generate $134 million. Say that's I'm just a simple number, and we have 134 schools. Each one of them is going to get $1 million from this revenue sharing.
Uh-huh.
That's what you're going to get. If it comes down to is like, oh, we're doing revenue sharing, but Ohio State and everybody else is going to get a higher percentage, and it's going to trickle down, then that's the BS. But it's until then, the system is exactly the same. It just has a different name.
We got a
It's like you move your
15-point
money from
game.
your you move your money from your checking account all the way to your savings. If you had 10,000 in your checking and you move to the savings, it's still the same $10,000.
Right, right.
It's just now you're just talking about it differently. I got 10,000 in my savings. It's the same thing. When Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Kansas State, these schools that have money in these prominent programs, Florida, Texas A&M, all these schools, when they go into living rooms of these teenagers to recruit them, or they go to these JUCOs to recruit guys, they recruit them on the facilities, they recruit them on the history, they recruit them on the swag, they recruit them on the opportunities, they recruit them on the NFL players that got drafted. It's always going to be the same thing, except now I can give you the $100,000 on the table instead of in an envelope underneath the table.
Mm-hmm. And we got a 15-point game with about 9:50 left. Bakers are in trouble.
That's
But then go ahead.
that's where the Knicks they got you right where they want them. Now they about to storm back.
All
12
right,
all
here we
run.
go. I'm here for it, But of course, lastly, the NFL came out with a decision that surprised me. I don't know how you felt about it, but it surprised me that they're allowing their players to participate in the Olympics in 2028 and I guess beyond. So, one, were you surprised by that decision? Two, what do you think of that decision?
Uh I was watching the Rich Eisen show earlier after you sent me this topic, and I was like, damn, I wish we could have got to it first. Cause I was gonna kind of say the same things that he said. So I'm gonna give him, credit. He talked about Roger Goodell wants Patrick Mahomes carrying the American flag, dressed in polo in Los Angeles, promoting the NFL game globally. That's what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
The issue that I have with these guys potentially taking over flag football is that they didn't do enough of the work. I don't want to say any, because I imagine NFL teams do have some kind of participation with NFL Play 60, and maybe sort of some kind of connection with the, building flag football through community outreach, whatever the case may be. But as far
Mm-hmm.
as like the team that will be in the Olympics, I don't think any NFL player works out with this team. I don't think any of these guys went and did tryouts. So it's like, I was using this analogy. It's like, my son's going to prom. Now he's got the tux, he's got the plan, he got the tux to match, got everything to match the dress. We got the haircut appointment booked, tuxedo's ready to go, everything's ready to go, and all of a sudden the day of, somebody else comes, puts a tuxedo on, and takes his date to the prom. It's like, I did all the work. I did all the legwork. My parents paid for this stuff. Like, all this stuff that we built up. I built all this stuff up. And now when it's time to go take the pictures and be shown to the world, somebody else just takes your spot. I just think that's unfair.
So, look, I told you we was going to have different reasons. You know what I'm saying? My reasons is just why America always trying to stack the field. You know what I'm saying? You can't say that you're the best when you always trying to take the easy way out. Like when I look at the dream team, for example, as a little kid, I loved it. Jordan, the molester, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Scottie Pippen, John Stockton, so on and so forth. greatest collection of talent you could put on a basketball court probably at that
Beat
time,
the brakes off Lithuania and Angola.
But
Didn't need them all.
But now as an adult, I don't like it. I don't like sending Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, these guys. Look, this is the Olympics. You know what I mean? So, like, I like soccer. They do the 23 and under, basically. So I think I would like to see something along the lines of college athletes, like the best of college basketball. And I mean, you would still probably win.
With basketball, I get it because the other teams, they were sending their professionals too.
No, I know, and that's what I'm saying.
They were sending NBA professionals, and they were sending their country's professional players.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
It's just our professional players were just bigger names.
Right.
The original Dream Team was definitely a showcase of American basketball prowess, and we wanted to show the world, hey, this is where basketball is.
This is our thing, right?
And ever since then, everyone else is kind of, I won't say caught up, but they played into that. Okay, we're going to see pro.
But that's where I was about. That's what I was.
But no one else has a professional football league.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was getting to. So football's not like that. So like to me, it just seems like you're just trying to cook the books and stack the deck in your favor. And to me, even though I'm not a fan of the Olympics, I don't watch the Olympics. This is one of those. In my mind, it goes against everything that the Olympics stands for. You know what I mean? Like this is supposed to be the best of amateur, right? Best of amateurism, versus like if you go out there with like say you reunite Patrick Mahomes and Cheetah, you know what I'm saying? And then you got Justin Jefferson on the other side. It just don't feel right.
Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase up against Latvia's corners.
And Jeremy Lin's cousin.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like
it just doesn't seem fair.
It doesn't seem necessary. And for me, like Rich Eisen said, it's just a matter of getting football on a global scale. My ultimate thing is like, I don't know what the data points say, but I imagine that American professional athletes are world famous. I imagine that they're world famous.
Right.
We play a lot of games in London. A lot of shoe production is overseas. A lot of guys have Adidas deals. That's a German company. A lot of guys have other deals in China sneakers. So that's billboards for a billion eyes. Nike obviously is being made overseas. I imagine these billboards and these games and these jerseys and Instagram and the internet. People know who Patrick Mahomes is in the Ukraine. So I don't know how much more you need as far as a global piece yet. I'm looking at it too.
Yeah, Josh Hart with the Hulk Hogan leg drop. Obviously wasn't on purpose, but
I don't like it. Mainly because the Olympics were last year, correct? 2024 in Paris.
Yeah, so it's 2028 in LA now.
The men's basketball team won gold. The women's basketball team won gold. Now, can you name another team of Americans that won gold off the top of your head?
Track? Swimming?
Maybe. I'm talking about that's what I'm saying. So it's like, you don't even think about it. We don't even know who won all these. We know the NBA players won the medals. So it's like sending Patrick Mahomes, and we keep using Patrick Mahomes as an example, but like Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, hell, even Daniel Jones would probably dice up. A Serbian safety. Like,
let's not get crazy now.
Reunite him with Malik Neighbors, and I think it's just.
Hey, Nikita Koloff will come out there and intercept everything.
But it's like with the NFL players, you're already at an elite level in your full contact sport. Like, you are the creme de la creme of the world in that sport. Why would you? I don't even want to use the word come down, but why would you cross over and just take over another sport or another aspect of the sport that you play that other teams are really building on, like other leagues?
What happens when Joe Burrow go over there and tear an ACL?
it would be unfortunate, but like I said, you could say the same thing for the NBA players. You could say the same thing for the other
Yes,
professionals. And
but
some people,
the NBA, but back to our the original point that I was making, like the Olympics is a part of NBA culture. Like that's a thing now where NBA players aspire to play for their country. NFL, you just threw this out there and some dudes will play because it's football. But
yeah, and the
but
thing
this,
about the NFL, there isn't
there's no reason for NFL players to do
you
this.
couldn't field a team that could compare to if you just sent the NFL first team All Pro. Say that was your flag football team. There's not a country on earth that can match what you would send the first team All Pro. Hell, the first round draft picks of this year, the NFL first, those 32 men that got drafted, you make a team out of them. No team in the world could match up.
You could send this version of Amari Cooper and nobody could touch him.
Yeah, it just
what I'm saying? Like you could send. I'm trying to think of somebody like really, really. You could send Jake Browning over there, and he would slice and dice.
Absolutely, he would kill him.
I just don't like it, man. I don't get the point of it. Like outside of America being sore losers or something, or like just you know what I mean. Like I don't like that's
it's
all
like
I can.
Because even if you lose the flag football, what is somebody gonna do? They're gonna put on pads and come challenge.
Did anybody that played football in the Olympics get an NFL tryout this year?
No, I seriously doubt they would. And on top of that, it's 1,500 dudes already on rosters, and then it's 20 people per team on practice squad, and then there's another 20 guys on standby every single week.
And then you got the UFL.
You got the UFL. You got
Bro, we can send the
football.
UFL players over there.
You could send UMass.
All right, I don't know, man.
You can send any college football program, and they would beat a flag football team. So, I don't like it. The main reason I don't like it is because somebody else really built it, and you're already elite at what you do. Like you are one of one in the world. There's no other football league in the world that can compare to the NFL. I remember when I was stationed in Germany, guys who played football in high school, or
and they had the Rhine Fire when you were over in Cologne when you were over there.
I'm talking about like semi-pro teams.
Okay.
Like German leagues had like guys who liked American football. It was global, so they had like semi-pro teams. Very similar.
Right.
You probably see them in Texas and over
the
states.
Right.
They had like a 3 American rule. Like you could only have either 3 Americans on your team, and you couldn't have more than 3 Americans on the field at one time. Like that's how good 3 American football players were. It was like you couldn't have more because we played football here our whole lives. You start at 4, 5, or 6 years old. These German guys are just picking it up in like the 90s when the NFL Europe came. So they're still understanding like the crackback block, like the tackling and like the aggressiveness that you have to play football. So you get a guy that played high school football in Western Pennsylvania, and he joins the Air Force. He wants to play semi-pro football. Is him and 2 other guys on the field at a time. You couldn't have a whole line full of American dudes against a team full of German guys.
And while we at it, shout out to the Barcelona Dragons too. That was my squad.
I think they I went to the NFL Europe World Bowl in 2001. Coolio was a halftime show.
Oh, rest in peace, Coolio.
Yeah, that was a good time in Amsterdam. We played at the Ajax Football Club arena. It was dope. It was a good time. And like I said, this Goodell obsession with this globalizing, and like it's already global. That was 24 years ago when I watched
you got the Vikings over there playing back-to-back overseas games.
Yeah, you got Jacksonville staying out there. A few years ago, I think it was Buffalo staying out there.
Jacksonville got more fans over there than they do over here.
They do sell out. Like the Colts are playing the Falcons in Berlin. I sent my dad a text like, "Let's check it out." I went to look for tickets. Gone.
I know Washington's playing Miami in Spain. So like it's
Tickets are
just
gone.
it's just one of those things. I think you got what, Chiefs and Chargers in Brazil this year.
I think that's terrible. I think all division games should have a real home field advantage. I think that's a bad. Why don't they just play preseason games? Like, why are you taking up real games that matter towards the division? It just,
Well,
I don't
I
know.
mean, I guess you wanna. If you're gonna go overseas and you're trying to build the game, you want to put your best foot forward. You don't want to go over there and see Patrick Mahomes for a possession, or he don't play at all because you're like, hey, it's game 3 of the preseason. I don't need to see Patrick Mahomes warm up.
Listen, you see that terrible field that Green Bay and Philly played on last year. Now, you think the flag football field is going to be any better? I just, I don't know.
Probably not.
Just the greed of it. Like I said, I don't know what the numbers are, but just looking from the outside, looking in, as someone who has seen football, seen it globally, seen the impact, lived in Europe, lived in Korea. You've been stationed overseas. We see it. You see it all the time. It's like the NFL is not hurting for worldwide fans. You don't have to be everywhere. Cater to the fans here in the States. Stop charging everybody $500 for every ticket to sit at the top of MetLife like you're about to tumble over off the edge of the
Right.
earth. But like I said, they want to take away the flag football player opportunity. I think it's fucked up. I mean, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. So I think these flag football guys should talk their shit, because like, you look at it like this: you talk your shit and say, hey, I don't think these guys should be able to take our spot. And you just keep saying it. And if they come through and take the spot, everyone's gonna be like, you know what, this is pretty fucked up. Like, why are you out there? You're already an upper echelon player in the greatest football league in the world. Now you're taking the development football league and just taking it over for a few weeks just to win a gold medal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's unfair.
Yeah, I think so too. But on that note, it's unfair how much faster the Pacers are than the Knicks. So 6:31 left, 113 to 102. We will be back on Friday. Saying this is Sports Reports is Ordered. This is your show. So like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things. Hit us up. Let us know what y'all want to hear us talking about and all that good stuff like that. We love you.
We'll do it better than BSPN.
and,
Shout out X.
And one last favor. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
We love you. See you in a few days. Peace.